So it's been almost a year since Horizon Chapter 2 was supposed to hit cinemas, and the sequel still has yet to release. So let's take a look at everything we know about the film, and what went wrong behind the scenes, to try and figure out when and if we'll ever actually get to see it. So to fully understand what happened to Horizon Chapter 2, we first have to go back to the release of the first movie, because a lot was riding on its success, as it was the first chapter of an epic 4-part Western saga that Kevin Costner had waited years to direct, even going as far as to put $38 million of his own money into the budget. So Kevin Costner clearly believed that Horizon could be a big hit, having directed multiple successful Westerns in the past, before becoming the face of one of the most popular shows on TV as John Dutton in Yellowstone. But the problem was that when Horizon Chapter 1 finally arrived in cinemas, it completely flopped, making just $38.7 million worldwide against an estimated budget of $100 million. The movie also received a really mixed reception from critics and audiences alike, with many critiquing its unfocused story and poor pacing, despite its impressive cinematography and ambitious scope. As a result, Horizon Chapter 2 was pulled from its August 16th release date, and was indefinitely delayed. And reportedly, the thinking behind this was to give Chapter 1 more time to be watched via streaming, on the likes of Max and Netflix, with the hope that the movie would find a bigger audience that would show up in greater numbers for the release of Chapter 2. And so far, the strategy seems to have worked, as the film has proved to be a sleeper hit on streaming, becoming one of the most streamed movies in the US shortly after its release, while climbing the charts as one of the most watched movies on Netflix. Meanwhile, Horizon Chapter 2 has remained shelved ever since, having already been filmed in 2023 alongside the first movie. But what's even stranger is that Chapter 2 has actually already premiered at the Venice Film Festival in 2024, without ever receiving a wider release. And according to those who watched the movie, the numerous characters and plot strands from the first film all finally begin to converge around the construction of the titular town of Horizon, while further setting up conflicts and tensions that are rumoured to all come to a head in Chapter 3 and 4. So for better or worse, depending on how you viewed the first movie, Chapter 2 sounds like it will be much the same as Chapter 1, having already proved divisive with critics for that very reason. So this seems to have left Kevin Costner in an awkward position, because although part of Chapter 3 has already been filmed, production on the saga has reportedly been paused due to a lack of funding. In response, during an interview with Deadline, Costner said, "I'm hoping, I'm dreaming. I'm meeting all the billionaires that we all hear about. They're all hiding in the shadows." He also reaffirmed his commitment to the series as a whole, saying, "I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to make it. And then I'm going to make the fourth one. And if you want to say the end at that point, then that's the end." However, despite his optimism and his desire to start filming again as soon as spring 2025, there's still been no official update about the future of the Horizon saga. And in the meantime, Kevin Costner seems to have shifted his attention to documentaries, such as The West and Yellowstone to Yosemite, while offering no clarity on when Horizon Chapter 2 might release. Even the stars of the movie seem to be in the dark, with multiple actors from the first and second movie expressing in interviews that they have no idea when Chapter 2 will release, or whether filming on 3 and 4 will ever resume. On top of this, news has recently broke that Kevin Costner is now being sued by a stunt performer over the filming of a certain scene that features in a future chapter. At the same time, New Line Cinema have also entered into a legal battle with Kevin Costner's company over the financing of the movies. So putting all this together, the future of Horizon Chapter 2 and the saga as a whole is about as uncertain as it can get right now, and will remain that way until Kevin Costner can offer a proper update. The problem is that if Chapter 2 is merely another part of a larger 4-part story, then it's unlikely there'll be much demand for it unless the third and fourth parts actually get made. So it's possible that the second film is simply being held back until Kevin Costner can secure funding for the entire saga. However, the longer that this process takes, the more the interest in the series will wane, with Chapter 1 just recently leaving Netflix, where it found so much success at the beginning of the year. So there is still time for Kevin Costner to salvage his American Saga, but it does feel as if time is running out for him to do so. But let me know below, what were your thoughts on the first movie? And are you still interested in watching Chapter 2 despite the long delay? Also, if you enjoyed this video, you might also want to check out this one right here.